the first thing I'm going to focus on really is end-to-end journey checks. Now, I suppose the question would be, what is an end-to-end journey check? So it's something you'll see whenever you're setting up a test. There's an option for GoTestify to run a participant journey check or an end-to-end check, whatever way it's referred to on the platform itself. And what this means is that we take it from the view of the participant, where we take it from the start of the playtest and we follow the process as a player right to the end of the playtest, and we check it for various things, which you can see on the screen here. So you get, does the test meet your goals? We follow the journey as a tester, we find the blockers and we fix them, and then that lets you run a successful test. It's something that a lot of folk, if they're setting up their own tests, typically don't think about too much, but it can mean the world of difference. Okay, so the next stage we're going to look at is following the journey. Now, there is a link to our article there on preparing your game for user testing. I'll include that in any follow-up communication. Really, there's three steps here. First, or for the three options, I suppose. First of all, is following the flow yourself. So, really, you want to approach this with a clean perspective and put yourself in your participants' shoes. Sort of start the test from the point that a participant would get invited, just follow it all the way through and really sort of look at it with that, like, what am I seeing here? Try to eliminate your own sort of preconceptions as the developer, your own sort of ideas as to how the game runs, etc. Sort of treat it as if you've never seen it before. Benefits to this are that they're zero cost and it's quick and easy to edit it if you find any discrepancies. Do try to approach it with that clear perspective and think about the range of participants you might see. People from all different walks of life. People might not be super familiar with like how games of the type of game that you're building works, or the type of project that you're building works. You know, try to think of it as a take that outside perspective and take sort of that step out of your own shoes, I guess. The next step or next option is to ask a team member to take part in the test, preferably somebody who has had little to no interaction with the test setup or the game. Gives you that outside perspective without you having to worry about sort of putting yourself there. Again, zero cost, and hopefully will provide you with some clear and quick context on issues. They'll be able to give you a write up or something if you ask them, I'm sure. This could provide you with a different approach, could provide you with other things to consider. They could even ask you to maybe insert something into the test that helps them. But yeah, it's another way of getting that sort of external perspective. And then the other option that I have here is launching the test and sending it to a single participant, almost like a soft launch. So if you've started your recruitment, potentially use one of those players or potentially use friends and family. You'll get that true outside perspective that you'll have completely unbiased. Friends and family, debatable, but at least they'll be able to tell you how the journey itself went without maybe commenting on your game or project. They'll also be able to give you an idea of what participants might ask you during your test, so that would be great for things like triaging participant issues, things like that. I would always say here to remember to treat them as if they're taking part in your test, including any kind of reward. You do have some free usage on the platform as part of the indie program, so hop on and see how tests work. Feel free to, you know, set up a test, set it up as what's known as a web URL, which basically just downloads the recorder to the PC that the tester is using, and then just play your game for a bit and talk about how your design process, or how you've encountered certain aspects, or why you've made decisions that you've made so far. And then when you finish your recording, you'll be able to view. You'll have experienced not only the tester perspective from start to finish, but also you'll be able to review the platform and how it works and all that. So yeah, those are the three real options for following the journey that we would recommend. I'll move on to the next topic. Moving on then. The next part that I talked about was finding the blockers and fixing them. So the way we sort of categorize blockers, or we call them flags internally, is red and yellow flags. It's pretty sort of it helps us really sort of narrow down and focus in on what the priority is. So just to give you an idea, red flags or blockers, as it were, are issues that could prevent the test from running as a whole. So we would do an end-to-end journey check, and if something was going to stop the test in its tracks, if the game breaks due to a bug, if there's an inability to reach an area that you need to test, if the game doesn't load, these things will not allow the test to continue. So you it needs fixed. Something needs done about it. Most often, the fix will be some kind of change or like adjustment to the build, which, as I'm sure you're aware, can take time. So, is one of the biggest reasons that we advise these checks. You don't have to like. There's a fee for us doing it up front with you there. It's on the platform. Um, you don't have to have us do it. You can do it yourself. This is why we promote doing it yourself. It's to ensure that you are able to sort of progress in the test. Yellow flags then, they're issues that could cause issues that could cause like progress issues for the participants. I don't know why I said issues twice there, but anyway, but wouldn't stop the tests. So things like confusion in menus, maybe it's not super clear where they should go. Slight bugs that don't prevent progress. Maybe there's some kind of bug where a button doesn't work one time out of 15 or whatever. A difference in the copy versus the in-game instructions. So you provide them with one set of instructions. Classic example, I'm using the word blockers in my initial thing. Yeah, I'm calling them flags here. That might cause confusion if you're saying get to the second level, the foundry, and in the game it's called the factory. They might not realize that they're there. Typically, fixes for those kind of things are like special instructions or tasks or like a briefing page, all of which I'll touch on during this presentation. Fixes and solutions as a whole are recommendations from thousands of end-to-end journey checks. So we've done a lot of these. The most common ones, as I mentioned, are changing the build, adding special instructions, adding tasks, or creating a briefing page. I would also recommend keeping a record of the issues, as sometimes, despite the best efforts, they can still occur in the main test, and you might have to support your participants through that. There's been more often than not, there have been bugs or something like that where we've sent them off and the developer's done everything they can to eliminate it. We've done another run, it hasn't happened, great, we carry on, and then it happens immediately to the first tester. So thankfully there's usually a workaround by that point though, and we've had time to think about it. And that's what I mean by doing these checks, is that if you do the check beforehand, you're prepared, you've encountered the issue yourself, and you have had time to think about a workaround or a fix. A couple of case studies regarding this. So we had a progression test. You'll see developer A and developer B here. I can't go into names and games and whatnot, NDAs, etc. But this was a limited event. The event unlocked at level 25 in progress. It was a match 3 game. Participants were all new players, so some of them didn't really have an experience with a match 3 game. The end-to-end check showed us that there wasn't enough time for an average player to unlock the event and experience it in full. If I recall, the test was set up for I want to say two 30-minute sessions. Yeah, it was 2 30-minute sessions, but on average, the participants weren't getting to level 25 until halfway through that second session. So they were only having say 15 minutes to experience this event. This sort of prompted an expansion of the test, so running over a longer period, we were able to add an additional session to the end of it, and we recommended that rather, and the customer agreed. Then the participant was able to experience the event and provide critical feedback to it. They made key changes that would have been missed had they not experienced the event in full. There's one example of maybe a change that you might need to make based on the back of one of these checks. And then our second case study, which was a usability test, developer B. It was dev menu access, so it was quite early in development, this one. And it required heavy use of a dev menu to access the gameplay. Normally we would recommend that as much as you can to have it as easy as possible for the participant. The end-to-end journey check revealed that the tester might encounter issues at multiple stages. That a lot of the options that they had to pick were buried quite deep in the menus, and we had to give them very clear. We would have had to give them very clear, like, go to this, then go to this, then go to this, and go to this. Um, we recommended that there were key changes made to the development menu, so like maybe moving them into. I think the way we did it was we asked the developer to move it into a testify option in the dev menu at the top, and then it was just like option one, option two, and option three. Enabled the participants to access the required area early and easily, and it also enabled preparation and distribution of a landing page slash briefing, um, including like a video walkthrough to get to the gameplay quickly. So once we were sort of briefed and we followed the process ourselves, and then they changed that for us, we were able to then go through, follow the process, record our process, and like give the participants like a full sort of instructional guide with that video. That resulted in the test being a success, getting the feedback required, and the support team, myself and my wider team, were able to answer questions that testers presented effectively and efficiently. So, like, because we had that knowledge of what could go wrong and where, we were able to, like, yep, we know exactly what to do. Here's what you do.